It is time for another edition of the Brother Buckeye broadcast on the BBB Audio Network. I'm your Buckeye brother, Doug Daniels. Hi there. I'm in black and white. You ask why? Has his computer crashed totally? No. I just kind of felt like Saturday's game was a throwback to another time. The 1950s, the 1940s, the 1930s when Notre Dame and Ohio State played for the first time in 35 and 36. It was kind of that kind of game. Defense, not a lot of offense, certainly not a lot of scoring. So just for the heck of it, we're going to do this one in black and white. And by the way, Paul Simon was wrong. In the song Kodachrome, there's a line in Kodachrome where he says, and everything looks worse in black and white. No, it doesn't. The classic photographs are in black and white. The great photographs of today are in black and white. If you've ever been on YouTube and watched the, I think it's the Soft White Underbelly channel where this guy interviews people on Skid Row and folks who are down and out, and he takes these pictures in addition to doing the video interviews, and the pictures are in this stunning black and white. Everything looks better in black and white. I mean, you don't see as many of the blemishes, literally and figuratively. So we're doing this one in black and white because it was that kind of rock'em sock'em football game. And if you're wondering why it took me so long to do this, you're probably watching this either on Tuesday night or Wednesday. Well, it's because I've been in intensive care. I'm only half kidding. I was in county jail because I was screaming and throwing things and saying, "Why, Ryan Day? How come you don't know the QB? Push. I mean, it was like 4 inches. When Hinsman is hiking the ball is actually over the first down marker. Come on. Biggest criticism. You didn't need a yard. You needed 6 inches, if that. Get up behind your center. You've got 2 guards and push. McCord's a decent-sized guy, and then have a tight end and a fullback behind it, or another guard, and push. They're not going to stop you from 6 inches. Anyway, cover that later on. That I was out of. In fact, I even went on the 247 Bucknut site and said, why is Ohio State the only program in the country that doesn't have the QB sneak in the playbook? Because I've yet to see it very much. And why? Why do you turn around and hand the ball off to somebody who's 5 yards behind when you need less than a yard? Makes no blanking sense. I mean, what do I know? That's what I don't understand. It's crazy. It's not sane. It's not sane. Everybody else does, and I've never seen anybody do a QB sneak with less than a yard, or certainly less than a half yard, and not get it ever. Never, unless the quarterback steps back and tries to go right or left. But right up the middle, All right. So let's talk about some other things. So, my Notre Dame notes. McCord has big ones. He's cool, he's confident, and he shows his emotions at the right time after he's gotten the job done. I like McCord. I like him a lot. Emeka is clutch. Emeka is dependable, and he's tough. I like Emeka a lot. Harrison is a warrior among everything else we already knew. What a tough guy. By the way, he made that catch. Are you kidding me? The foot he didn't just drag his tippy toes. Literally, the heel, the arch, and the ball of his foot flat on the ground. And the announcers missed it, and the replay people missed it. What is going on? There are people who are paid probably pretty good money to get that stuff right. The call on the field was right. And then they undid it. That's happened way too much to Ohio State over the last few years. Don't make me go over the games and the situations. Harrison, coming back after being rolled over on the touchdown run by Henderson, taped him up. He needed help getting off the field at the end. Hopefully between now and the Maryland game, he will be back to 100%, because it would be a real bummer if for the second year in a row we lose the best wide receiver in the country to Notre Dame. I like Marvin a lot. Henderson can fly. Henderson has energy and he has enthusiasm. Henderson is tougher than many of us think. I like Travion. Chip Trainum is one bad MF. He can catch. He's nimble. Chip made it past the sticks. I like Chip. He should have been on the goal line in the first half. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's quicker, he's faster than Mayan Williams. I'm sorry. Play to win. Love Mayan. We're going to need him at some point. But Chip Trainum should have been the guy down there in the first half. Fix that. Fix it. All right. Stover can catch. Stover can run. Stover is tough. Stover can't block. He is a bad blocker, and I don't get it. He's athletic, he's big, he's strong, but he can't. He olayed so many times in that game and really this season that he could open up a taco stand. I mean, come on. Somebody needs to pull him aside and say, Cade, knock somebody on their ass. I don't get that. That I don't understand that. It's not like he's adverse to contact, but he just cannot block. And it's cost Ohio State in the past. It almost cost them Saturday night because on that last play, when he was supposed to be blocking somebody, he didn't block anybody. It may have been because Notre Dame only had 10 players out there and he couldn't find somebody to block. But, I mean, come on. Let's get that together. If you want to be Big Ten East champions, if you want to beat Penn State and the team up north and Maryland, you can't miss blocks, especially on the goal line. Good Lord. By the way, I am very happy about the win. I'm ecstatic, but we got to go over this stuff here. It's my job. It isn't my job. It's what I'm doing for fun. The offensive line can pass block. The offensive line does not run block well enough to win a national championship. Yikes. The defensive ends don't get to the QB. JT finally did. They had him on the left side. Did you notice that? From the right side, he doesn't seem to ever get home, but he was on the left side and he blew up 2 plays in a row. Maybe that's where he needs to be. Or maybe he needs to go back and forth. The interior defensive line can't shut down a good run game. I mean, they didn't. They really didn't. It was like smoke through a keyhole. Thankfully, the linebackers, safeties, and corners were there to catch the Notre Dame running backs that were just right through the line. You would have thought we lost this game the way I'm talking, but I'm just saying. Notre Dame was running right through the Ohio State defense, and it was nothing fancy. Yikes. Now, despite the previous two truths, which the defensive line, the interior line, not stopping the run, and the defensive ends not getting to the quarterback, despite those two truths, the defense has been more than good enough through 4 games. And again, it's because of the linebacker, safeties, and corners. The back 7, not the front 4. The front 4 has got to be better. We think we have one of the best defensive lines in the country. And at times it flashes. Tyleik Williams flashes. Michael Hall flashes. But not consistently. Got to work on that. All right, so here are the grades for this week. McCord gets an A for the last drive, if for nothing else. He had a good game. But he needs to complete passes on the earlier down, so you're not in those situations on 3rd and 4th down, which he was very good at. I give him an A. I give the running backs the room an A, especially for Henderson's long run and Trainum's touchdown. Tight ends get a B because of the failure to block. Can't give an A there, Stover. You got to block better. Offensive line gets a C. They digressed this week. Oh, I'm sure the opponent had a lot to do with that. But a C is all I can give the offensive line, especially when it comes to run blocking. Now, pass blocking there, it's a B+, maybe an A-, but the run blocking, not yet. Not good enough. Not good enough. So the offensive line, give C- and C+. Last week I gave him a B. They're back to a C now. Corners get an A+. They tackled well. They defended well. Safeties get an A+. Ranson's play was fantastic. Linebackers get a B+ for stiffening in the red zone. The defensive line gets a B- overall. Not enough to shorten drives. Notre Dame had the ball 10 minutes longer than Ohio State. What? You're not going to win. You're not going to win games against Penn State and Michigan. And maybe even not Wisconsin. Maybe not even Wisconsin. When the other team has the ball 10 minutes more than you do. And it wasn't like Ohio State was scoring quickly over and over and over again. I mean, that did happen on the Henderson run. But, And by the way, what on earth was that end around for? I mean, I'm circling back around. 6 inches or less than. Bush push. Learn it. Love it. Live it. Ridiculous. Unbelievable that they tried to do a jet sweep in that situation. And I don't think that's what they were going to do originally. I think Marcus Freeman called a timeout. And when Ryan Day has too long to think about something, it doesn't usually go well. His instincts are better than, I'll never forget. It was one of the worst days, one of the worst moments in Ohio State history. Illinois is going to punt. This was the 2007 game at the Shoe. 1.5 yards, 4th and 1.5 yards. Ohio State hadn't been able to stop their quarterback all day long. Jim Tressel calls a timeout. Instead of letting Illinois kick the ball, he called a timeout. Well, what's his name? I can't remember what his name is now. Coach for Illinois, coach for Florida before. Kind of looked like a camel. Anyway, you don't give the other coach time to change their mind. And that's what Jim Tressel did. And that's why they lost that game. Plus the fact that one referee blew the fumble in the first quarter. Oh, I knew that was going to be a long day when he did that. That referee got in trouble for gambling issues later on. Anyway, I digress. Don't do that. Don't do an end around when you've got 2 inches for a first down. Trust your QB to throw more passes. McCord needs to learn to throw to the open. He needs to throw his receivers open. He's tending to be very accurate, kind of like when you're throwing darts at a board. Even the big catch by Emeka at the 1 was kind of a straight shot. He needs to lead the receivers open. Stroud was great at that. That's going to come, but more reps. I'd like to see McCord have a game where he throws the ball 30 to 35 times instead of the low numbers. I mean, I know he threw the ball 37 times in the Notre Dame game, but it was mostly because they had to, because they didn't have the ball very often. So when they did, they did tend to throw the ball because the running was hit and miss, more miss than hit. But it's gonna take time, and in time, I think McCord is going to learn how to lead the receivers. When he does lead them, he tends to way overthrow them. So again, a little bit of an arch in the ball. Stroud had that wonderful arch. Haskins had that wonderful arch. Fields tended to throw a javelin, and McCord is in between a javelin and Haskins. In time, I want to see that Tom Brady alley-oop. All right, I'm all over the place here. Lou Holtz, your used by date was up years ago. And Marcus Freeman, you ain't close to ripe yet. Yikes. Never in the history of football at any level has a team operated 2 consecutive plays with less than 11 players on the field until Saturday night. Never seen it. At the high school level, at the pee-wee level, never. Because if it happens once, and then you call a timeout, and it happens again, you have no business running a major college program, especially one like Notre Dame. This isn't a shot at Marcus Freeman, the person. I'm sure he's a wonderful person. But good Lord, gosh almighty. To do that on they're at the 1 yard line. To do that once is a mortal sin. To do it twice is a fireable offense. Thank you, though. Appreciate it. Lou Holtz, what a dolt. And I used to like Lou Holtz a lot. I wish he would have been the coach at Ohio State after Woody Hayes. I don't know what Lou Holtz did to keep from getting a chance to interview for that, but he did. But then again, Bobby Knight really didn't get a chance to interview for the Fred Taylor opening either. 2 huge mistakes that set the football and the basketball programs back a decade. Basketball program didn't really fully recover until Gary Williams came in. And I don't think the football fully recovered until Jim Tressel came in. Think about that. 79 to 2001. How many years is that? 21, 22, 22 years in the wilderness because of the failure to hire Lou Holtz in 1979. All right. So anyway, you got that. I turned the page, a la Bob Seger. I did tell you that my Mark Chatfield, who went to high school with my sister Diane and Doris, the lead guitarist for the Gods. He's been the acoustic guitar player on the Bob Seger tour since like the early 1980s. Replay officiating is worse than I've ever seen it. They're actually worse than the officials on the field. If you can't see that Harrison's foot was flat and on the ground on his sideline reception during replay, you shouldn't be trusted to sweep a floor. What was that all about? I was screaming. His foot's on the ground. It doesn't matter about the hand or the elbow or the wrist. He was 3, 4, 5 feet in bounds. And the announcers didn't catch it either. They need to get into a new line of work. I mean, seriously. Let's just hope that your surgeon isn't like that. And I've gone under the knife several times. Can you imagine? I know it's not life and death. But you would not want your dentist or your doctor or the person who fixes your toilet to be that incompetent. Come on, Big Ten. Those were Big Ten officials, were they not? By the way, Notre Dame is a tough football team. They remind me of the better Wisconsin teams, but with a better quarterback. They should be in the Big Ten. However, the Fighting Irish take on Duke on the road this Saturday. Then it's Louisville and then USC. 3 more consecutive night games against Duke, who is very good, Louisville, who isn't terrible, and USC, one of the top 10 teams. It'll be interesting to see if Ohio State and Ryan Day broke the Domers, because they could very well lose to Duke. Clemson did. And then with 2 losses in a row, I mean, this happened last year after they lost to Ohio State. Didn't they just fall apart? Lost to Marshall or something like that? They could lose to Duke, Louisville, and USC and have a 4-game losing streak after being a second away from moving into the top 5. How do you like them crackers, Lou? Sweet Lou. Okay, stay tuned. OSU has the week off. Don't use the word bye because this is not a tournament. Maryland has looked better than last year's team, which is about, let me see. What did I say here? Maryland has looked better than last year's team, which about ruined Ohio State's season the week before the Michigan game last year. They're better than last year's team, and last year's team almost beat Ohio State. The Terps have Indiana, so they will enter the shoe at 5-0. It'll be a noon game on big noon kickoff. Michigan looked fair to Midland for the 4th game in a row. They dispensed with Rutgers, the team which doesn't have a quarterback, or so it seems. Michigan plays at suddenly respectable Nebraska this weekend. When the Cornhuskers were bad, they gave the Weasels good games. Nebraska's better this year. I like their quarterback. I like their defense, too. I'm not sure Michigan is as good this year as they have been the previous 2. I think this is going to be a test more than a pop quiz. You know, Michigan's probably going to win, but this is at Nebraska, and it'll be the first really decent team that Michigan has played, at least a decent team with a quarterback. Rutgers doesn't have one. Penn State proved what we all knew as fake animals go. A Nittany Lion is closer to reality than the flightless Hawkeyes. Does anyone have the balls to declare no moss with the Ferences? Fredo has to go. Penn State travels to Chicagoland to play the Wildcats, who showed some resilience in their 21-point comeback versus the feckless Flex. Good Lord. How do you give up 21 consecutive points to a high school team in a high school stadium? Apparently, the grade point average helped. Because otherwise, I don't get it. How does that happen? How does Minnesota, the team that I chose to win The Big Ten West. How do they go to Northwestern and lose? Boy, is the West bad. The mild West. I say we take Oregon, we take Washington, we take UCLA and USC, and let some of these teams join Washington State and Oregon State in the Mountain West, or the AAC or something, because they're embarrassments. They are embarrassments. And these embarrassments will be vying for the West Championship all the way to the final Saturday. That's how sad it is. That's how sad it is. Speaking of the Gophers, also known as the Caddyshacks, they host the University of Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns this Saturday. No shit. If Minnesota loses this one, they will be in worst place. I don't say last place, I say worst place. Because if you lose to Louisiana, PJ Fleck, you will be in last place. And the last place in the Wild Wild West is the worst place. And you should probably call Mayflower, because you're going to be sent packing. No, and I'm serious about that. I kind of like Fleck, and I went with Minnesota. But they're just awful. And they've got this great freshman quarterback, but they can't stop anything. What happened to this football team? Yeah. The Conehead philosopher needs to go if they lose to Louisiana. Illinois is at Purdue. Showing up is half the battle. And whoever's defense decides to make their 2023 debut will win. Because Purdue, Illinois, Northwestern, Minnesota haven't been showing up with defenses. Who has? Maybe Wisconsin? Iowa. They lost to Penn State 31-0. Where was that defense? All right, Michigan State is at Iowa. Oh, the West is miserable. And so is Michigan State. They're tuckered out. This one will be a 12-10 game with Iowa kicking a field goal from 60 yards at the gun. Why 60 yards? Because their offense is horrible. And they're not going to get very close to the goal line. They're going to kick 4 field goals and win it. You watch. Rutgers rebounds from their second half swoon in Ann Arbor to best Robert Wagner by screaming, "We're chopping wood, we're chopping wood, we're chopping wood." Come on, Bobby. Watch us chop wood. Oh, twice this season I've used a Robert Wagner, Natalie Wood joke for comic fodder. And on that happy note, I am putting a wrap on this edition of the Brother Buckeye broadcast on the BBB Audio Network. I am Doug Daniels. This has been in black and white. Because I probably look better in black and white. And if that's true, I think I may stick with this. Because why not? It's my show. I can do what I want. Hey, if you like what I do here, having a little fun at other teams' expenses, but occasionally saying, hey, Ryan Bay, when you're 1 inch from a first down, push. I mean, you do know the Bush push, right? Oh, I could go somewhere, but I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to say good day, good night. I'll be back tomorrow, and I'll probably do a couple of more shows this week. We'll do the picks and whatnot. I am Doug Daniels. I am a 40-plus year radio broadcaster who sells mattresses for a living these days and is having a little bit of fun on the YouTube, doing what I love to do, which is broadcasting, but talking about what I love pretty much most, which is Buckeye and college football, although music and radio are right there, 1A, 1B, 1C. So until I do my music broadcast and showgrams, I'm going to do this. I appreciate you subscribing. I appreciate you liking. Appreciate your commenting below. I appreciate you hitting the notification bell. I appreciate you telling folks that we're here. A fan's fan. We'll see you soon. Go Bucks. Now I need to go back to bed and continue my recovering because I almost died. And so did Ryan Day's career as an Ohio State coach just days ago.